Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thanks for registration and exciting to tell you about the topic about Amazon European marketplaces. From us, from Inels, Amazon Marketing Agency. As you might already know, we are working for the last 5 years with many different brands, not only in Europe, but we know how Europe is different and different tips and tricks that we're going to tell today. But you probably might already see me on some of the social medias or in the emails or in newsletters, but would like to introduce Nix, account manager for more than 1 year with Inels, working quite effectively with the clients, creating different strategies, implementing different actions. So Nix, thank you very much for finding time in your busy schedule for this webinar. It's quite exciting to see you here as well. And maybe a question, if you can tell what from your perspective is the most challenging and also the most interesting specifics about Amazon European marketplaces.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Thank you for having me today. Exciting to start this webinar together with you. If you talk about European marketplace, I think the most challenging thing usually is translations, to translate the keywords content for specific market. So I find this the most challenging actually. But other things are actually pretty similar or even better. Not better, but it's like easy to manage, European marketplaces altogether. But that we can talk about a bit later.
If as a general rule, what would you recommend for the company to start in the US or to go and try in the European marketplaces?
Yeah, it depends what product you intend to sell. But of course, US market is way bigger. But then on the other hand, the competition is just very big, and cost per clicks, for example, for advertising is higher in US compared to Europe. So it really depends, from the product. If it's me personally, I would go for US at the start. But of course, Europe is great as well because you can, sell across many countries in Europe.
I think also quite depends on the budget that the company or like a private label has. In order to start in the US, you need some bigger amounts, some bigger investment amounts, and probably be more patient about break even in the long term.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, again, it depends from the category and product. But I agree. It depends. Like you need to check many things before you decide to enter the market.
Yeah, but we're gonna speak about this all in the details.
Sure.
So we decided to break it down in the following way, that we have this presentation split it in 2 parts, where first I will speak mostly about logistics and the difference of Amazon FBA, Amazon logistics, regulations, taxes, and especially VAT tax in Europe, and what you need to know in comparison to other marketplaces and the US especially. And then we will speak about the market research, but in the middle of this presentation, I will give a word to Nix, and Nix, you will take over and tell about PPC and your experience working with the search engine optimization and product listings. So for the very beginning, to make a step back for those who may be not aware of Amazon Europe at all, I would like to bring some light and tell just a little bit more about how many countries, how many marketplaces are there. So in total, it's 9 different marketplaces, as you can see on the right. But it's very important to outline 5 biggest. It's Amazon UK, second one is Amazon Germany, then I would say the third biggest is France, and then goes Italy and Spain. Those 5 countries, it's usually a no-brainer that we go for if we start with the client and say that we are launching on a full Europe. But these 5 marketplaces, they also work quite well together. But then there are other marketplaces which are developing quite rapidly, like for example, Sweden or Poland and Czech Republic and Netherlands. Amazon Turkey opened recently. If we speak about close to Europe right now, also Egypt has opened new marketplaces. But speaking specifically about Europe, why those other markets are not so big as UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, simply because Amazon needs more time to attract users and to change the philosophy of the whole population to have one place, one shop in mind where they go shopping. As it is in the UK right now, everyone knows Amazon. It's the same in Germany. If we speak about online purchasing, most of the people think about Amazon. It's not yet the case in Sweden, for example, or in Netherlands, where it's the bol.com, but it's developing quite fast as well. So I want to also say here that in 2022, Amazon had a revenue of nearly 50 billion euros only in European marketplaces, generated from third-party sellers and Amazon as well. And third-party sellers, they represent more than, I think right now, 60% from all these sales. So different companies, brands, private label, wholesalers, retailers, and etc. So quite exciting opportunities in general. And I would like to start and speak a little bit more about logistics here and tell about specific things on how you can start and what's the difference between Pan-EU and EFN logistics when speaking about Amazon FBA warehouses. For those who don't know, it's one place, one Amazon warehouse where you ship your products to. And in the right, you can see EFN module, where you ship your items to one Amazon warehouse in one country. In this case, it's Germany. But you can open your listings in all countries. Here's the 5 biggest markets. You can open your listings in France, Italy, Spain, UK, and meaning that when customer goes to Amazon.es platform, they can purchase it, but it will be shipped from one country. Why one country? Because in order to have your stock inside Amazon FBA in one country in Europe, you need to have a VAT registration, which I will talk later. This is a mandatory thing for all the companies, which is sometimes a stopover for many, and it's not necessarily to have VAT in all countries, but it's good to have VAT in one country, and you must have it in order to, and then you can supply all Europe. We recommend to start with Germany in many cases, because Germany is the only country where, besides VAT, for logistics purposes, you also need to have a tax ID for selling purposes. So you cannot sell on Amazon Germany without having a tax ID, such called Steuernummer in Germany. It's a mandatory part. So if you have it registered together with VAT, you can ship to Germany and supply all Europe. But then after some time, you see that you have more sales in France, in Italy, in Spain, and etc. You can switch to Pan-EU program, and on the left, and Pan-EU is where you have VAT in all 5 biggest countries. And once you ship your products to one country, in this case in the UK, it is distributed among all 5 biggest marketplaces. And in this case, it's very easily and convenient to be as close to the end consumer as possible, but also avoid the cross-border fees, meaning that, for example, you ship 1,000 units to UK, and Amazon, based on the demand, will distribute the units between Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, and etc. And then what is important to say that Brexit happened a couple of years ago. I think it already lost the track, but I think it was like 2 years ago exactly, where UK separated from Europe, and the cross-border was not acceptable and was not possible at one point. So meaning that customers for Europe needed to have one VAT registration somewhere in Europe, and then VAT registration in the UK, and have 2 different shipments. Since January this year, it is actually available again, meaning that you can only store your products, for example, again in Germany as EFN at the beginning, and then supply your products to other countries like UK, Germany, France, Italy, and Spain. So it's quite interesting, and it's again allows to be more flexible and to not have such big barriers to entry Amazon business in Europe. Speaking about the VAT, very important number that everyone needs to know when selling on Amazon, especially using FBA. You must have a VAT number in order to have a stock, but you also need to have like a VAT number if you sell more, even with the FBM, meaning that you ship products yourself. There are certain thresholds. They're different from 6,000 to 10,000 euros on average yearly revenue, and they're different in each country. So when you reach those thresholds, no matter what, you need to register for the VAT. And it's also very important to know that you need to keep a track of the VAT and cross-border, but there are many different consultants and different companies that are really helping, and we also have it as a service in-house. We have a VAT specialist who is helping our clients to not only declare and fully guide on how to pay for the VAT, but also check and see if there is some certain regulations or some changes in the VAT numbers, or some thresholds are reached. So sometimes it's quite convenient for Amazon agency like us to have it in one place. And taxes in the UK and Europe, we just want to speak a little bit more about this, that if you are not in the European Union or in the UK, there is import tax, which you need to think about when you ship products in. It's around 20% on average, but then also you pay a VAT. VAT in different European countries, it's different from 19 to 22% in those countries where Amazon has like these 5 biggest marketplaces. But then once you pay this, your VAT expert or your accountant can deduct back import tax. So basically you only once pay 19 to 22%, depends on the country. I just made a mistake and said 25 because actually it's 25 in some countries like Sweden, which is a new marketplace. And then you can reclaim the amount for import, as I just said. And another thing is that you have a distance selling threshold that you need to think about. Speaking about the FBA fees, and here again, if you are not familiar with the FBA calculator, it's quite an interesting tool where you can see all the costs and all the specific fees for FBA. You can Google it and find it, but just make sure that you don't go to the US platform, to the US calculator. What is very important knowing about FBA calculator is that, and specifically about European fees, is that when you have a cross-border sales, then the fees are more in terms of, again, in terms of FBA. If you store locally, you store it in one country and you sell to the end consumer in the same country, it will be less. So having VAT in more than one country, at some point, it's very convenient and reduces some fees. But very important as well to say that, of course, we always highly recommend FBA, not only in Europe, but also in other marketplaces in the US and et cetera, because Amazon really favors products which are stored at their warehouses, and they're really helping to sell it by increasing the organic rank and also by having a Prime membership. And what is important to say that here as well is that you can, if your products are, for example, very heavy, or you can use FBM, you can ship yourself out, and you can apply for Prime still. But in Europe, there are many warehouses that offer it, but again, it really needs to be country specific. In some countries, there might be a better solutions for this type of warehouses, and some not. So again, speaking about different countries, sometimes with FBM, they need to be considered separately. That's why we, again, really recommend FBA for countries altogether. And if your business is outside of Europe or UK, you need to find a freight company which works with Amazon already. It's our recommendations, and sometimes in our experience, we saw that companies are using freight forwarders which do not have an experience, and then they are failing, or there is some miscommunication or wrong delayed shipments to Amazon. It all can affect stock. In the long term, it's a very big problem if the company does not know how to work with Amazon FBA warehouses already. And we always recommend it, like in most of the cases, partner network of Amazon is a very good place to see and to find for such solutions. And we also see that there are a couple of great companies which are helping, for example, US sellers to enter Europe. What is important to speak about is EPR regulations, especially in Germany and France, and soon is coming to Spain as well. It's extended producer responsibility, something that Europe introduced maybe like only a couple of years ago. It is not difficult to get, but it's a must to have. And this is where Amazon is actually quite tricky about having it, and might suspend your listings if you don't have it. So in order to register it, you should select a dual system provider where you will report the information. Again, Amazon Partner Network or in Google is quite easy to find. So we're also helping with this, with the consulting on how to register for EPR. And one time per year, you will need to report and provide your revenue, your sales. to this dual system. Then, according to the sales amount, you will need to pay a fee to German or French authorities. And later, of course, in Spain, as I mentioned. So you need to remember about different product requirements as well. In Germany, we saw, like recently especially, quite a strict attitude towards some supplements. And in Europe in general, supplements is a very tricky category where sometimes the labels or something else can be really like it can be suspended many times just because, for example, the ingredients are provided wrongly or something else. So you need to really read and understand what is the requirement specifically for your products. However, I also want to say that in our experience, supplements are a very good product for smaller European markets like Spain or Italy. We saw a great success with Spain or Italy with supplements simply because the ratio between the competition and the demand, so search queries, quite interesting. There are still many people are searching for the supplements. For example, in Italy, still people, there is a big supplement culture, but on Amazon, there is not so huge competition, especially like you see in the US or in the UK. Just a little tip that we saw from our side. And here, next, I will give a word for you. Feel free just to say to me where to switch slides, since I'm in the control of this. But we will here continue to speak about more interesting, more in-depth part of Amazon EU, such as marketing and advertising.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And actually, like as we can see so far, it's actually two parts, right? Selling on Amazon, especially Europe, you need to get all of the documents in place, right? You need to think about logistics, and only then you can actually start selling. So it's not so easy anymore like it used to be a few years back, right? You need to have VAT numbers and everything. So yeah, great points you covered there. Okay, but now let's talk about advertising, listings, a bit of search engine optimization. Of course, we can't cover all of the main points, but I'm just going to briefly, introduce you to the basics, and I hope it will be useful for you. So in this example, what we can see, let's start with competitor analysis. So I have chosen a German marketplace. So let's assume that I want to sell vitamin C. So the first step you need to do, you need to head to Amazon.da, German marketplace, right? And you can type vitamin C, for example, in English. You don't need to translate it because still you will, the relevant products will show up for you. But there's a tip, you always need to use local zip code in order to actually see a full list of competitors. Because if it will be, for example, your address outside Germany, you won't be able to see all of the competitors. So always use local zip number. And so the next step, once we have identified like the hyper relevant keyword for our product, we're going to use X-ray tool by Helium 10. And here it's really important to look for like competitors. By that I mean, for example, if you're selling vitamin C, it's a single pack and your dosage is 1000 milligrams, you want to eliminate the rest of the products. For example, you want to eliminate products which has 500 milligrams, which are 2 packs, for example, because those are not relevant to your products, right? And you want only to gather the specific information, especially for your products and your product type. So yeah, that's the first step, what we do on X-ray tool. And then the next step is, as you can see here, if I have highlighted the total revenue, average price, average review count. If you go slide back, you can see that those values are different over here because on this slide, I can only see like-for-like competitors. And this is really important because of two things. The number one thing is we can see here the total revenue on the left corner, right? And then we have to ask ourselves what we are okay with in terms of revenue. It's clear that, we won't be able to conquer this market share like 50%. It's impossible, right? Because it's highly competitive niche, a lot of sellers. But what if we get like 3% of the market share? Is it enough for us? For example, if the total market revenue is €500,000 and we get 3%, then it's 15 1,000 euros per month in revenue. For some sellers, it's a great deal. For some sellers, maybe it's too small. So it's really, you really need to understand, is it really worth for you to enter the specific market? And that's how we can actually easily, analyze it and check some basic things like this, for example. And then the next step is, on the previous slide, we gathered like-for-like competitors, and then we want to know on which keywords they are actually ranking and generating sales from. So again, we're going to use Helium 10 Cerebro tool, and here you can see that we have some ASINs entered at the top of the page. And then I have highlighted the position rank. So I entered numbers from 1 to 13, because this is the page 1. So I want to see on which keywords those competitors are generating sales from and ranking on page 1. And also, really important thing is I have highlighted ranking competitors or relevancy score. So the minimum relevancy score I want is 3, because I want to gather highly relevant keywords. Again, I don't want some branded names. I just want to see the demand for highly relative keywords for the product I intend to sell. And then the next step, as it's a German marketplace, we don't understand German. So what I always suggest to do is to download a Google Translate extension, and it will translate all of the keywords in English. So for you, it's way easier, to understand what each keyword actually means. But here, again, I highly suggest for you to click on some of those keywords to double check if it's actually how it's translated, because, sometimes we have experienced some, glitches with translator tools. Okay, so far what we have done. So we analyzed the market, the revenue for the product we intend to sell. We gathered the top competitors, and also we gathered a keyword list, which is a key to successful advertising, right? And here you need to also understand that to grow sales on Amazon, there must be enough demand for the product, right? So what I always look for on European marketplaces before, I decide if I will enter the market and sell a specific product. So I look for at least 3 to 5 high volume relevant keywords, about 1,000 searches per month. And the minimum relevancy score, again, needs to be at least 2 to 3. Why it's needed? Because you need enough demand for your products. For example, if there's only 1 to 2 keywords, which most of the sellers are generating sales from, it's going to be super hard for you to compete with those competitors, because there are just a few keywords to go after. And, it means that this niche is going to be highly competitive. So that's why I always look for 3 to 5 high volume keywords. In US, this number is higher. I would say it's at least 8 keywords, about 1,000 searches per month. And also you need to check and analyze, is the category dominated by top sellers? For example, if you can see that 2 sellers are generating more than 60% of whole revenue, it means it's going to be super hard for you to compete with those guys. So a lot of things, to keep in mind before you actually enter the market. Okay, and now, so far we analyzed the competition, gathered some keywords. And the next thing, if you are launching the product, for the first time European marketplace, of course, is to start getting some sessions, impressions. You want to get the first sales. You also want to get reviews as fast as possible. And also, of course, what you do, you track your keyword ranking. And what you want to see is that your rank is slowly increasing. And also, you will gather a lot of data when you launch your products, right? And data is king. It will showcase to you how are you doing, what you need to improve, what are you lacking. So yeah, those reports by Amazon and the tools you can use nowadays help a lot, for us as an agency, and of course for many sellers to actually analyze and understand where you stand with your product and how you perform. And also what we have experienced, if we compare European markets with US markets, on European marketplaces, cost per click is way cheaper compared to US, because again, US is the biggest market, right? Competition is so high But of course, it doesn't mean that in Europe there is no competition. No, of course it is, but still you can't compare the market size. So it's a great thing, and in the same time advantage that in European marketplaces, cost per click is cheaper. So for example, if you set up your ranking campaigns, exact match, you play with your top of search placement bid, and you intend to pay more for the click. Many times you can see that actually with the 100% multiplier, we are paying the same cost per click than we pay without any bid adjustments on US market. So the difference is actually pretty high. And of course, the other really important thing is reviews. So if you're selling your product for the first time, I highly suggest you to apply for Wine. Here we can see on the right side the cost for Wine program. Actually, it's the same as in US, only here you can see the values in euros. And so what we have experienced so far is like some difference if we compare UK with Germany, for example. So UK customers, they tend to leave detailed product reviews, but in the same time, they are not so picky. So we can see that, we are actually getting better reviews from UK marketplace. Although in German marketplace, the customers are really picky. Even though you give product for free, it's a wine, they still may leave your negative reviews. So you have to be sure that how you describe and showcase your product on your product page, it needs to meet expectations when the customer actually receives your product in real life. So it's really important thing, because if you're not sure about your product performance, and then I don't suggest to do wine. Then you need to think about other tactics. But of course, we can cover that maybe on the next webinars. And also a great tool, which is also on European marketplaces. It's inside Amazon. It's called Product Opportunity Explorer. For example, as I'm selling vitamin C, or I intend to sell it, I can check conversion rate on Amazon, specific for German marketplace. And this data can help me to analyze how I am performing against, the market. I can analyze my advertising campaigns. I can see how I convert. And if I'm converting better than the average, it means I'm doing good. Everything is fine. But if I'm below the average conversion rate, it means that, maybe it's still too early for me to go after some keywords because I lack reviews. But of course, there are like many data points which can tell us more about, why we are not converting so well. Maybe it's images, maybe it's you're missing A+ content, maybe the price is too high. So a lot of things to keep in mind, but great that, Amazon is showcasing us some of the basic things we need to understand so we can understand how we are actually performing. And then, so the great thing, what we can't actually experience in US, and so much is that on European marketplaces, all the listings are synced together. And reviews, for example, if you already sell on US and you want to sell in Europe, and when you enter the Europe marketplace, your reviews from US will transfer to those European marketplaces, which is a great thing, because, you don't have to do wine or think about some initial review strategies, because those reviews are going to get transferred to those European marketplaces, which is a great thing. And also you can use international listing tool, to actually create listings. So you can do it all at once. And also Amazon many times offers you to translate those listings. But then again, I would do it by myself. You can use ChatGPT nowadays to translate the listings. And also you need to implement the correct keywords, right? So you can't just allow Amazon to translate everything and forget about this. It's not how it works. And if you speak about advertising platforms, then for each marketplace, the advertising platform is separate. So it's easy to control the advertising, the performance for each market separately. And also, if you intend to do some promotions or coupons, you need to set those up on each marketplace separately. But as we know, we discussed a lot of things, some basics about competitor research, keywords, advertising, but the most important thing and key to success is differentiated product. It's like key to success. And speaking about differentiated products, so how customers will judge you when you enter the market? It's your main image, reviews, and price, because they don't know anything else when they see you for the first time on that page one, right? So that's how they're going to judge you. Then when they land on your product page, click on your listing. Then you have to ask a question. Does your listing look like it solves the problem better than everyone else on the market? So it's really important to understand this. And what we do a lot of split tests inside of Amazon, but those two tools, services you can see below, Pickful and Product Pinion, they are really great to gather data upfront. For example, if you want to launch the product, not launched yet, but for example, the product is on the way to Amazon warehouse, you can showcase your listing to your potential customers, and they can give their thoughts about your listings, how they look, what they think about your main image, what they think about your price, what they think about your secondary images, bullet points, A+ content. This is so valuable information what you can actually use, because you may think that, oh, my product looks well, everything is great, but your target customer may think differently. So it's really important to understand all of those things. So yeah, again, I really suggest to use those services to gather data from your target avatar. And yeah, speaking about content, so as I mentioned, main image, it's really important. Here we can see on the left side, there's a clear difference, right? One image is still accurate, aesthetic, but then on the other hand, the more colorful picture, it catches attention, it showcases how product can be actually used. Also, if we look at effective lifestyle image, you need to showcase with your secondary images how the product works, what can it do for you, how it can improve your life. So yeah, showcase product benefits. And if you talk about A+ and brand story, it needs to be in local language. So for example, if you started, if you are already selling on US marketplace and you intend to sell in UK or in Germany, let's take Germany, you can use English secondary images. But if you want to upload A+ content, it needs to be in local language. English content on German marketplace just won't work. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind when you work on your content. And yeah, so other great tool for European marketplaces is that you can actually upload country-specific images. So again, if you are selling in US, you have your secondary images are in English, but if you want to sell on Germany or France, you can use this tool and upload your infographics in German or in French. So this is great. It won't mess up your listings on other marketplaces. So yeah, I highly suggest to use this tool when you upload content on those European marketplaces. And yeah, basically that's it. We covered, some of the basics, and yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nix. I think it's quite exciting to speak about localization of the listings, translation, and also keywords that you mentioned. Maybe before we finish, just let's have a little conversation and maybe ask first you what you think if the company is selling in the US and it's trying to enter Europe. Would you recommend like step-by-step plan where they only just focus on one market, choose UK, they go there, or maybe they expand? And if they expand, how much efforts they put into translations, keyword research, and maybe VAT and logistics? How would you maybe think about this expansion?
Yeah, so great question. So first of all, I would, search, as I did on my first step, I would look at total market revenue for my product niche. That's how you can easily check what's the average price for the product, what's the demand, how many competitors I have, what's the review count, and many times maybe if I can see that, the market is bigger in UK, but on the other hand, on German marketplace, still healthy revenue levels, but less reviews, and if I'm lacking reviews, I would start with Germany. So that's how I would approach, I would look at competition, and of course I would look at revenue, and then I would decide to which market to enter first. Because as you explained on your slides that, you need to have VAT in place and everything. So it could be complicated to enter like all markets at once. Still possible, of course, but it's a bit complicated. So yeah, I would check maybe competition and revenue first.
I think from my perspective, I always am a fan of actually trying to expand at different marketplaces at once. So for example, when you start selling in Germany or UK, try to identify the best sellers and maybe just don't spend much time, but take like 2, 3, 4 SKUs if you have those best sellers, list them on other marketplaces, maybe to find out local keyword or like even keyword in English if there is a search volume, and try to rank for it for just like one exact match campaign. And maybe like when it comes to the listing, maybe not even translate it to local language, or as Nixie told, to use ChatGPT doesn't take much time, and then see if there is sales, or if it's not, you don't spend much budget, you just close the listing after some time. But interesting, you mentioned about ChatGPT, and maybe like what is your process of collecting these keywords and implementing? Do you have just like a script that you use and say, ChatGPT, please insert those keywords in the translated listings? Or it would be interesting if you can share this information also about
yeah, sure. So yeah, how I usually approach this. So I have some basic product information, then I have some prompts where I want ChatGPT to create, for example, exciting bullet points so customers are interested to read them, right? They are like super short but sweet, highlighting the benefits and features of their product. And then the next step is I have gathered a keyword list based on the competitor research, which I covered briefly. I'm using those keywords, showcasing them to ChatGPT, and then I say I want those 3 to 5 keywords on my title. Then the rest of the keywords can be showcased on the bullet points and then on description. And then, of course, also the rest of the keywords I can't put on the product page. I'm using on the backend, entering on the search term fields. But yeah, basically, with ChatGPT, it's like way easier. You don't need to be a copywriter anymore, right? You can just let them do their job, just provide the information, correct the keywords, and that's it. It's way easier nowadays to do that.
I think it's also a big part of success if you understand those long-term keywords in different European marketplaces, understand them correctly, and maybe you're as a not native speaker, you find out some local slang keyword, for example, that is quite interesting, good search volume, not so much competitors, and you try to rank for it. So I believe that later, when you already try to push for the bigger performance, try to scale some of the presence in these markets, it's quite interesting to maybe already, or even attract a native speaker, or just like go and understand through Google Translate, through ChatGPT, those keywords a bit more. So definitely great insights. And during our presentation right now, I just raised the question that we probably didn't spoke so much internally about each clients, but we definitely see, and maybe the question, how or price sensitive, or maybe do you see some correlation that some like coupons or discounts or prime different deals are performing in some markets better, somewhere less, and maybe like some category insights, or just like if you remember something like on top of your mind?
Good question. So what I have noticed actually that coupons work the same. They always work, like 40 till 30% of the customers actually use the coupon. So it's always good, from time to time to run those coupons, because it brings extra visibility to your listings, with this green box. So basically our strategy usually, especially when we launch, we set a high coupon, keeping in mind that not all of the customers going to actually use that. And in return, we convert better. Our TACoS will go down, because we give like a kind of good deal to the customer. And then after a few days, we remove the coupon and we set a sale price. And then we have this strike-through pricing. And this strategy works actually for all of the markets. But actually, in terms of pricing, it's really interesting that, you can sell the same product. You have almost the same cost of goods. Shipping will be different if you ship to US or to UK. But I have seen that, for example, on UK, you can sell product more expensive than you do, for example, on US marketplace, because on UK we have pounds, in US we have dollars. And like I can see that, for some clients, actually, our prices are higher in UK, but we still convert even better compared to US. So it's really interesting, that on some markets, your price actually can be a bit higher, on some markets a bit lower.
I think in the US especially, you really need to be price competitive in some categories. Especially, people are really trying to provide the best offerings, and if you don't have the best content, the best reviews, and the brand store A plus, then it's quite difficult. What I also think right now, it's quite interesting that I don't see much eco-friendly badge in Europe, even though it's existing. I think I saw it is, but it's not so much as in the US. And for example, I believe that for customers like German customers, it might be quite interesting to see. But it's probably just my personal observation. Maybe.
No, yeah, I agree. Every badge you can obtain on Amazon, you should go for it because it brings extra like eyes. You are taking more real estate on Amazon, so it's a great thing to have for sure.
Yeah, an eco-friendly badge for European customers sometimes might be even more interesting to see than that for the US, which the market is not so picky for the quality, maybe for the producer responsibility and etc.
Yeah,
but yeah, so thank you very much one more time. We just always leave a link or send a link after the webinar is done, where you can book a call with us and have a free consultation, or in general watch some other materials or follow our YouTube or other social media channels. So Nick, thank you very much for your time. I believe we did a great insight, sharing great insights today. So if you have any last comments or maybe just thoughts about this one.
Yeah, I think it was great. Thank you, Mark, for the company. And yeah, as I said, we covered some of the basics still, a lot of things to discuss about, keyword research, advertising, listing optimization, content. But yeah, like maybe the last note from my side is that, differentiator is king. Your product needs to be different from the competition, because if you enter with the same product, with the same price, with the same main image, why would anyone, buy your product? Because other products have more reviews, for example, So yeah, you need to, think about all of those things before you decide to sell on Amazon. But yeah, we are here to help, as you, Mark, said, all things Amazon, logistics, advertising, content. So yeah.
Yeah, and always feel free to reach out and say also if you have a feedback on how deep we need to go into this webinar. I think Nix, you already mentioned the next one will be in 1 month with our PPC manager, with Alex. So it should be a bit more in-depth consideration and knowledge about how to manage advertising, and not maybe only Europe, but in general for specifically like for Amazon. So thank you very much for watching, and feel free to reach out. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.